They will cover commonly asked questions on this new application and how it can help your district with FAPE compliance. Today, we are excited to welcome Dr. Kim Chambers, IASPA's very own executive director, along with Rob Holloway, David Campbell, and Rebecca Campbell from Verifent, who will be helping us as we continue to navigate the uncharted waters of FAPE law. We do have a few housekeeping items. As I mentioned when you came in, please turn on your cameras. We would love to see your smiling faces, but we do ask that you remain muted so we don't get any of the background noise that may happen. We also encourage you to ask questions via the chat. Dr. Chambers will be monitoring that chat so she can help answer questions real time. And then at the end of the webinar, we'll also be going through the chat to see if any new questions have been populated, and we'll make sure to address those as well. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Kim Chambers, Rob, David, and Rebecca.
Thanks, Danielle. Hey, everybody. It's so good to be with you today. My name is Kim Chambers. As Danielle mentioned, I'm the executive director of IASPA. I'm also the director of human resources at Stevenson High School. And some of you might know that I had the good fortune to be part of the team that worked on the FACE Law trailer bill, which included the Employment History Review, EHR requirement. And in the process, I have to tell you, I felt very strongly that the EHR was necessary, but I was really worried about the impact that the administrative burden would be on our districts in terms of completing this additional requirement. So fast forward, and in January, a rep from Verifent, David, reached out to ask if there was somebody from IASPA who could talk with them about FACE law. What did it mean? What was it about? So we set up a meeting, we chatted. They explained that Verifent was currently providing a digital solution for sexual misconduct checks in 2 other states. And I learned that they were also doing digital experience verifications in all of the states and the District of Columbia. And they told me about their products, told me about the company, learned all about everything. So eventually, fast forward a little bit more, IASPA decided to partner with Verifent to be able to support the rollout of this effort to our Illinois school districts. It's a digital solution. We're going to talk about the ins and outs of it. What I can tell you is that what that partnership means is that if you are an IASPA professional member, your district's going to get 50% off the price of the solution for the first year. So Rob Holloway is here with me to talk about the product. He's one of the leaders at Verifent who's a subject matter expert and has been involved in the design of the workflow. Rob's going to talk about the software, how it works, what it costs, how to sign up, all of the details. As Danielle said, we'll be taking your questions throughout the webinar. Please drop them in the chat. I'll be monitoring them. What we are not going to be talking about today, we are not going to talk about FACE law in general. We're not going to talk about which employees need an EHR, which don't. We're not going to talk about the district's responsibilities in all of this. Those topics have already been covered in a previous webinar. It's available on the IASPA website, so feel free to take a look at that. So I wanted to make sure that you understood the scope of today's conversation. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Rob Holloway from Verifent.
Good. Thank you, Kim. I greatly appreciate it. And good morning, good afternoon to everybody. I want to just say thank you for your time investment. And it's always encouraging and really, frankly, very edifying when we get a group of leaders that are really just hungry to make things better for everybody. So just excited to have a chance to share with you a little bit of who Verifent is, what is being built for you in Illinois, and just talk a little bit about kind of how that's been architected to make life a little bit easier this season. I'm going to start off with just a little bit of a nugget about who Verifent is so that you at least understand just our DNA, what makes us up, why we're landing in your space in the K-12 world. And just to give you a chance to hear a little bit of our heartbeat, I'm going to share with you quickly. This is a screenshot of our landing page. So this is the Verifent homepage. And to understand how we've gotten to where we are today, just to understand quickly our background. Many of us in the Verifent world as leaders have been involved with HR, finance, payroll solutions, bringing technology to change from paper-based processes to electronic-based processes, really since that kind of era began. And that happened generally in the early to mid 1990s. As I like to share, I'm old enough that I was around before the internet was around. And so as the internet became a viable business tool, a lot of functionality was being transitioned from paper-based to electronic. And it even goes back to just what is a legal signature. It used to be, it had to be a hard copy signature. Today, we have rules surrounding electronic signatures. And so as the world has grown and a lot of organizations were servicing and are servicing HR and finance, they have become more service centers. And these are what we call legacy providers, which we're born out of, but we are not based on their model. And those models are all about collecting as much personal information about us and about our employees in order to provide services. That's where Verifent's different. We are not in, I'd say, the data collection business. So if you'd ask the rest of the world that we're involved in, and that's on our commercial side, which we're not going to speak a lot about, but just know our core solution started off with employment and income verifications. So taking care of the mortgage industry, the car dealers, the property managers. And what's happened is, as we started then servicing your peers across the nation, school districts with that core solution, we then started hearing about hiring season. And this is kind of how we've gotten before you today. Is we started then really just listening and asking questions. And that's something that I believe really just characterizes our team. I like to say that we are not the smartest people in the room. We're good listeners and we know how to ask questions. And as we learn, then we can build solutions that bring more value. And so that's really what happened is we started servicing districts. We started hearing about hiring season. We started hearing about the need to collect and gather service records. We started really understanding that, and I'm going to use the term teachers, which could be really just new hires in general, are given a new hire packet and they're off on this paper chase. They're chasing former districts, former employers, and it's a nightmare for everybody, hoping I get all my data in place.
I forgot that I registered for a webinar, but I gotta go over here too.
All right, we're going to mute somebody right there. I just took care of that. All right. So what happens is that teacher is off chasing things. It goes in a black hole. And so we realized very quickly that our platform was built and structured in such a way that we could build a solution. And so we built our very first experience verification solution, which was one form meant to take care of just a few districts down in the Gulf Coast area. And then we started hearing about, hey, this is great, but I would also like to have sick days, a separate form. So we built a separate form. Then in the state of Louisiana, they have a sexual misconduct form, which is really almost a microcosm of a component of the EHR package, if you will. And so we built that. And what's happened is this has grown to where what we call our experience verification solution really is become the nation's first and really only solution meant to handle this onboarding process in the K-12 space. So that's just kind of a nugget as to how we've gotten here before you. When we connected originally with your leadership there in Illinois, that's where we started then hearing about FACE law and the EHR. And then we asked questions and we realized very quickly on that first call that the flow for the EHR is very similar to what we had already designed. We had not yet built it, but we'd already designed it for a neighboring state. What was unique about your packet is the employee's self-disclosure and also presenting the signature on the form. And I'm going to show you some screenshots today, presenting that signature with the authorization to release to their previous employer. And so when you talk to us at Verifent, what I like to say, and I shared this already, is we are good listeners. When you partner with us, you have a seat at the table to speak into our product development. We are relative to the rest of the software industry. We're extremely nimble. So if we have a form and you need another box added, we're usually very quickly able to turn that 2 to 4 weeks. If you need a new form, 4 to 8 weeks is kind of a realistic number. And even with the whole EHR process, we went from zero. Our first conversation was on February 27th. And I believe we rolled out for the trial period on May 22nd. So we went from nothing to really a platform or a solution that plugs into our platform. So with that, that's just the who we are and the why we're here. I'm just going to show you kind of a little of the workflow from the EHR process as it's been built. I'm going to skip some slides here. And I think the key is, as you contemplate just how to use and to fit into the Verifent EHR world, there's several things I need to stress for you right away. When we're talking about this, it's always important to understand the lens that we're looking through at the moment. So for example, there's three real users here. There is the new hire themselves. That's one user hat, if you will, or role. There is the former district or employer, and that is something else that the EHR has brought to our world. We typically will say district, but because FACE law is written in such a way that it may not just be districts that we need this from, we are changing our terminology to be former districts and former employers. So that's, again, a pivot we've made to support you in Illinois. And then we have the hiring district, right? The hiring side. So each one of these is a different role within this process. What I'm showing you right now is what I kind of called the hub. And this is where you would come as a former district. This is where requests would come in, and your team will get email notifications saying, hey, one of my former employers has submitted a request. They've been hired somewhere else that needs this, and please fill it in. There are two forms we support currently in Illinois. There is the certified experience verification form, which again is kind of like the service records. And there's also the EHR form. If you're registered with us and you're using us as an employer, if you have a teacher that gets hired in another state, the hiring district, if you think about the new hire packet, the hiring district dictates what forms are presented to you. So if one of your teachers gets hired in Georgia and you get a request through Verifent, you're going to get either a certified experience form or a classified experience form. And that's to fill out, again, because that's where they've been hired. So in Illinois, there's the certified form, and then there's the EHR packet. I'm going to show you on this next piece just the screenshot of what the certified form looks like. We're happy to provide more demos and further in depth if you need. We'll share a little bit more on the training side as I wrap up today as to how this works, but just to give you a glimpse. So the Illinois Certified Experience Form, everything we do, by the way, and I got a small shot, and I'll zoom in here in a second. Everything we do is delivered back and forth and stored between districts in PDF format. So a hiring district, when you as a former district or employer complete this, it is returned back to the hiring district in a PDF form. You have a copy available to you that's stored, so we archive it for you on our platform. And because it's PDF, you can print it and you can download it, upload it to other systems if you choose. But we are built to serve as a repository for you if you choose to use that. So this is kind of what it looks like. This is zoomed in a little bit. We always, on the experience verification side, which the EHR is a component of the experience verification solution, we always share contact information between districts. So if there's questions or need for clarification, there's always an outlet. And that may be reaching out to them. You also can reach out to our support team, because we have a support team that will service all of the users. They service the employee, the new hire, you as a former district, you as a hiring district. So there's always somebody to support you. And also know that every single transaction that takes place on Verifent has its own unique tracking number. So when one is created, it has its own unique identifier, which is kind of there on the right-hand side, about a third of the way down, the tracking number. So when you reach out to our support team, we can find it by employee name, we can find it by district name, but if you have the tracking number, it allows you to find that specific document very quickly. So it just facilitates communication. This document is something that is, when we talk about data, this document, we built the form inside the platform. And so everything wrapped around the form is automated. The request in, the request to have it fulfilled. Today, The form itself, though, is still filled in by your teams. And we built some technology in to speed up, facilitate the entry of multiple years. We even map like if you mentioned the school years is listed here to start 2012 to 2013. We allowed districts to customize the calendar so it gives you the exact start date and end date for that. So there's things we built in to speed up so you're not filling in the forms as you're traditionally doing on paper, but it makes it a little bit simpler for you. So that's the certified piece. Now we're going to switch our gear here and we're going to talk specifically about the EHR. And we're going to start off with the new hire. So we have built on the new hire for you to use for your new hires, sample communication materials. So it gives that new hired employee, rather than you giving them the form, it gives them really step-by-step instructions. Go to Verifent. Here's what you need to do. Okay. And it walks them through how to do it. I'm going to jump over real quick and take you truly. So this is take you to our website.
Rob, I have a
Yes.
question. I have a question in the chat from your previous slide about the employment verification or experience verification.
Yes.
Can I hit you with that while you're looking here?
Absolutely.
The question is whether there's a place for the former employer or former district to enter the actual number of days, not just full versus part-time.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Actually, and I'll flip back to that in a minute. But yes,
Excellent. Thank you.
absolutely. And even if there wasn't, that's the kind of input that we get from our districts. So our forms are kind of crowdsourced, where you may say, hey, it works great for me. Your neighboring district says I need a checkbox. We will modify as needed. So
Excellent.
Good question.
Thank you. I didn't want you to get too far.
All good. All good. And I appreciate the dialogue. So the communication material will take the employee, tell them to come to the Verifent website, and you see in the lower right-hand corner, initiate experience verification. And it starts it right away. And we give them what popped up was our step-by-step guide that will walk them through as they go the process. And I'm going to jump back into PowerPoint because we're going to use screenshots to kind of show you how this works. But this is real world production, and it holds the employee's hand. Plus there's chat features that will jump in that the employee can chat with our support team as they go if they need assistance. So the communication materials begins them walking through that process. And again, there's the landing page. So the new hire experience, and this is now showing you where I was a minute ago. They'll come here, and this is a screenshot of a panel. They'll choose their hiring district. So when you use us, you're going to direct them here. They're going to then, when they click the choose your hiring district, they enter you in. You'll jump up in a pop-up menu for them to choose you as the hiring district. And then they're going to ask, basically, here's who it is. Do I send the completed form to the hiring district? When it comes to the service records, we give the employee the option to have it delivered to their hiring district or not. When it comes to EHR, legislatively, legally, from a compliance side, they don't have a choice not to send it to the hiring district. So we prevent on the EHR front, we prevent an employee from getting a document, having the opportunity to modify it before they hand it to their hiring district. And again, that's in order to be compliant with the process. So these are step-by-step panels. Once they do this, it then takes them to the next screen. And the top of that screen shows them what forms are currently available for their hiring district. So again, the geography determines what shows up in the list. So your new hires, you're in Illinois, your new hires are not going to see the classified experience form that's for Georgia. You're going to see the two forms we've currently built for Illinois. If you have other forms that you feel need to be added to this list, again, you have a seat at the table to speak in. When the employee has both of those selected as yes, it then opens up a screen, and I'm sorry that this is so little on the left, but I zoomed out to give you an understanding of the page that the employee will scroll down. So you can see the two sliders there at the top. The next section is all their personal information, and then we get strictly into the EHR process. the self-disclosure with sliders, has anything been alleged against you or not? Yes or no? And so there's those 3 questions. And then there's the authorization to release form. And then the signature, which in our process is a mouse over signature, very similar to what you see when you sign your credit card tab thing at the restaurant or at the big box store when you're checking out.
And Rob, all of
yes.
the information on this form, these are all straight from the ISB template, correct?
Yes. So all of that is spoken in straight by the templates that you guys have provided as leaders. And even the formatting, I think, looks very similar to what everybody's used to. So good question. So once the employee fills all of this in, answers their non-disclosures, signs it, they submit. And once they submit, the process, and the beautiful thing is this is just standard of the way our platform has worked previously. So we didn't have to build, I'll say, the workflows very unique to EHR. The employee then gets a notice from the platform saying, hey, we now need for you to verify your email. So on the personal information at the top, they enter their email information when they basically put in their personal information. They then go to their email. They've got an automatic notice from the system with a hyperlink for them to click, verifying it's really them. And then when they click it, it takes them back into the platform. And now it's time to ask for my former districts, which we've also recoined as also employers. So former districts, former employers to enter that information. So here's where now we capture their determining who else they've worked for. So they're going to enter in the former places that they've worked. When they do that, it starts building the list, if you will. And as they build the list, if the district, which most Illinois districts are already going to be preloaded here, if the district's here, then all they've got to do is list them. If the employer's here, all they do is list them. If the employer is not here, it will recognize the employer's missing, and they will be instructed to provide the contact information that the automatic email will be sent. All of that is part of the new hire packet, letting them know, here's the information you need to have with you when you start doing this process. So they should not get caught by surprise when they get into here. Once they enter all that, and again, multiple former employers can be here. Once they submit that, it says, okay, it's done. The new hire process is now complete. They've notified previous employers. They've identified their hiring district. They provided their self-declaration, and they provided their signature on authorization to release.
Hey, Rob,
yes.
Do they also provide the dates that they worked at the employer?
They do not on this, because the form itself for the former employer provides that on the sheet, which you're going to see here in just a little bit. Okay. So here we go. The former district, when you're registered with us, will get a notification letting you know, hey, you've got a former employer or employee who has been hired by a district, and we need to complete the EHR for this employee. Once they do that, this is the dashboard. So your dashboard is your hub. And I'm showing the 49 EVs, that's the EVs to be done. And the dashboard shows you a start button is how we always start, the date requested, the employee's name and last 4 of SOCH. So we never, ever, ever have a 4-digit social security, or I'm sorry, a full social security number. We only have 4 digits. Okay. So that's part of our philosophy on, we don't want data. We take the minimum needed. We show who the requesting district is, or the hiring district, which is referred to as the verifier, seeking to verify that information. And you see the tracking number on the far right-hand side. Once you press start, it opens up the form. And again, this is the former district. The former district will see the employee's self-disclosure, and where it shows signature, they will actually see the signature there. They've got all the information at the top, including the tracking number. And then they see also the employee's self-disclosure as, did I or did I not have anything alleged against me? So all of this here. Once they see that, then they finish filling it in themselves. Oops, I backed up. They fill in then all the information for the employee, anything been disclosed or not. If there has been any allegations or accusations where there's a yes on the form, there is a button on the platform that allows you as the former district to upload any supporting documentation that you feel needs to be added. So what happens is, I mentioned PDF, a PDF's created. This form here, the EHR itself is presented with your answers, and then any supporting documentation is uploaded as well. And so
Rob,
go ahead.
we have another question. So when you just showed us that email that the previous district receives, do they need to be a Verifent customer in order for this to work?
So in this case, if you click yes, you're given the option, and the option is to respond to it electronically, which means having an account set up on Verifent, and it will walk you through that. Or you can print everything out, fill it in, and then you fax or email it in along with your supporting documentation.
Do
So
you have to be a paying customer of Verifent to set up an account?
you do not have to be a paying customer of Verifent to respond to individual formats, but it's every time you do it, if you're not paid or registered with the platform, you kind of have to go through a fresh registration every time.
Okay, that answers the question. Thank you.
Yep. So it provides a little bit more, it's a little more cumbersome, if you will. Okay. Any other questions right now?
Nope.
All right. So the dashboard. And now what does the hiring district's experience look like? So you've hired somebody, you've given them the form, and again, new hat, you've given them your new hire communication materials, and now everything's happened in the background. You get a notice saying, hey, we now have an experience verification ready for you to review. And you click on the link, you're going to see the answers from the previous district. And if there's yes, you're going to see yourself with the supporting documentation coming up underneath it. And so that's simply how it works. You're going to have a dashboard also as a hiring district. You've also got a dashboard which has all the completed inbound. So it's important to know the dashboard for the employer side, the responding side, is a separate dashboard from the hiring side. And this is important. If there's anything I'm hearing from our team, this is important for us to know. You must register for both sides of the platform when you choose to use this solution. So there are two separate registration pieces, one as the former district, which we also call the employer, and one as the hiring district, which we also call the verifier. And that's necessary because legally we're dealing with two separate components, if you will, of the platform. All right. It's releasing data, requesting data, and it's personal data. So just know that seems to be just a point of confusion. And it's also important to note, let me back up a little bit here to my dashboard. You can kind of see in my demo environment at the top right. At the top right is your username. When you first register as an employer, your registration will be, your username will be your email address. When you register as a verifier, the platform creates a username for you based on your name and the name of your district, and it formats it. It looks like an email address, but it's not. It's a separate schema. And so we have communication materials that when you do this, we provide you with a document saying, here's your login information to respond to inbound requests. Here's your login information to receive the documentation for your new hires.
Rob, we have a couple of questions. I'm going to interrupt you.
Mhm.
The first question I think I can answer, we're required to verify previous districts through the IASB website. Does Verifent do this? Verifent does not do that. Verifent, and I can speak because we now are a customer here at Stevenson. The system will reach out to the previous districts that the employee has listed. And so when we're onboarding an employee and we're on IASB's website and we're in Ellis checking their licensure, that's when we also look to see what districts they were at. And so that piece that's not an automated piece. That's not something that Verifent can link with ISB. Second question, Rob, for you. If the verification is completed by the previous employer manually, can the district still track that in the system? What happens when a district completes it manually?
Yep. So when they complete it manually and they fax it in, you're going to get that same email that I had shared a little bit earlier. This email that will tell you, because the technology has barcodes on it that maps the inbound verification to that tracking number. So rather than seeing the PDF version of the electronic form, you're going to see a PDF of what was faxed in or emailed in.
So Verifent will take that document and upload it to the system, and then it becomes just like the other documents. You can access it digitally.
Right. Correct. And I will just share this. When there is a lot, like let's say there's 50 pages of supporting documentation, you'll see it's been completed. On occasion, the technology doesn't lose sight of, how do I say it? It doesn't upload all of it, but we don't lose it. So it's a reach out to your account team just saying, hey, I need some more information, because if it's an extensive document. So it's not a bug. It's just part of the challenge of incorporating technology of a fax that's from the 70s with us, what we're trying to do in 2023.
The next question is, will the system flag employers that don't fall under the guidelines like Target? I'm not sure what this is asking, because we as the hiring district are required to send the EHR to every previous employer, current or previous employer, where the person has had direct contact with students or children. So we need to send it out no matter what. So I'm not sure if the person wants to add more detail in the chat. I'm happy to answer more questions about that. And then Rob, the next question is, do we get a notification when the future employee completes their part of the process?
You do not get an automatic notification, but the status changes into pending. So I'll need to take that as a follow-up and make sure I do, because I think we built an interim status so you can tell that, but I need to take that offline. So if I can do that, may provide a follow-up, that would be helpful to all of us.
Yep, absolutely. Because that way, as the hiring district, I know if I need to get the employee moving or if they've done their part and we're waiting on the other employers.
Yep. And this is actually a great example. Like I mentioned, this didn't exist prior to February 27th.
Right.
And as we have walked this process, we continue to pick up a new thing and refine and work. So I will say this at this stage. This is new. Is it going to be perfect? No, it's not going to be perfect. Is it going to be a lot better than paper? Absolutely. And I cannot overstress the most amazing customer support team that we have. We have people that have a heart to serve. They're all on shore. They understand K-12. They got a heart for the classroom. So even when we hit rough patches on things, there's somebody there to provide a lift and an outlet for somebody, whether the district, former employer, or the actual new hire. So my little commentary on bear with us and speak in.
Thank you. Those are all the questions we have in the chat right now.
Okay. So that's the high level walkthrough. Now I'm going to switch over. We're going to talk a little bit about what's online and available for you all right now. And Kim and David and Rebecca, you can speak in. So this is IASPA's website with information on face law and the Verifent solution.
Rob, I don't see your screen. I think maybe
thank you.
Sharing.
Yeah, I stopped sharing. Hold on. Here we go. All right. So back to the IASPA site. So this is the IASPA site with the face law stuff and Verifent. There is information because, as was mentioned earlier, we provide a discount for IASPA members, and you can get membership information here if you're not a member. And actually, I think pretty much offsets easily for most districts. It just makes sense. And so for us, then the Verifent information form is where you would put in your information saying, I'd like to know some more. When you fill that out, our team is reaching out, providing you with an email that starts walking you down the path. And so You'll get an email. It'll direct you here to our page where we're talking. And again, you can become an IASPA member here, and we start providing you with hand holding on how do you get started. And so showing you step by step what to do and take the first step. And by the way, if you get tired of me today, there's videos of me out there. You have to put up with me some more. Reviewing the price list, you will get an email from us that will include passwords to access videos and access also things like the price list. And I believe I have that open here. So this is the price list open for you. And as you can tell, our fees are meant to be based on employer size. We have not spoken much about the commercial side of our platform because that's not the purpose of this. But the key for you to know is our core business is our main revenue stream, and that's the way we want to keep it. So the experience verification side, because it involves a new hire, has an elevated amount of customer support required. Our team just holding people's hands. And so we use the commercial to kind of subsidize other things we do for K-12, which does include things like public service loan forgiveness. And we offer discounts, not only if you're an IASPA member, but if you're using the full complement of our solutions. If you're not, that's okay. Just know that your annual subscription will be a little bit higher. And we can talk a little bit more about that as well. So the videos will walk you through, and it is step by step. As I mentioned earlier, there are 2 pieces to register, and you kind of get there. Some people aren't really grasping. They got to do both sides of the house, if you will. Do we have any questions right now, Kim, or is that taking
We
care of
don't,
that?
that's it. So Rob, could you scroll down
David,
for a
go ahead.
moment?
Yeah, one thing I didn't hear you mention the cost of the commercial side.
It's a good point. Thank you, David. Not a secret. Our commercial solution operates just like the industry has operated for 25 to 30 years. And that is, there's no cost to the employer, no cost to the employee. The banks, the mortgage companies, property managers, background screeners, they need the data in order to do their underwriting process. And so they pay for credit scores, they pay for background checks, they pay for verification data. So we get paid by them, which again is normal. And so when you choose to use Verifent as your commercial solution, and we say it's no cost, it's not a gimmick. And I can share more about that later on. But Kim, did you have something else?
I was going to ask you, could you scroll down to the bottom of the page you're on there?
Yes.
What I really like about this, I've been in HR a very long time, and I've worked with lots of different vendors. Our Verifent folks will help you through the whole process, but if you feel like you want to just move ahead, you can walk through the whole process completely on your own. So you can go to this, once you receive the email, you can register, you can sign the agreement, you can pay the invoice, you can set yourself up, and you can do it fairly quickly. So I think that is unique.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. That is all spoken into by your peers. And as David has mentioned, we've been talking about, as we walk this process, which is still very new, we find where the slight rubs are, and then we adjust to make it easier for the next person. So if you do hit a rough patch, don't panic, reach out. We're always going to be quick to help you, and then we're going to smooth it over as we walk the path.
Yep. Rob, a question about the pricing. Would you go back to the price list?
Sure can.
So the question is whether the discounted fee that is listed here, that's the first year fee, and then it goes up when it's not discounted in the future. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then there's another question here. Verifent charges annually. Do they charge per application verification?
Nope. There's no hidden fees. There's no limit to the number of users you can have on either side of the equation. It's a what you see is what you got. And so there's no gotchas at all.
Excellent.
Whether you are a small district with no ability to have IT support or a giant district with a lot of IT support, it doesn't matter.
There's another question here. When we hire a new employee, we should give them the employee initiated form. That is correct. What Rob showed us, essentially, we give them the form, we say, go to this website, and then they take it from there. Step 4 on the form says premium or free. Could you talk about those two types of accounts, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, so on our solution, and this is part of, again, the maturation, if that's a word, of Verifent, we have a heart to serve our classroom talent. And so we know as we speak and service them, there is a desire and a need for them to kind of have their own central repository of keeping my experience forms, maybe even someday a place to put my transcripts or other career information. So we started off with us building the solution that allows a teacher to choose to use us as that repository. And that was the original, the premium functionality, where you just keep it, we keep it forever, we service you, you've got your own account, and you could forward stuff on. Free is free. There's no gimmick there. It works for any new hire. We just don't offer them that we keep their access to just any form they want to upload. What's happening is that premium piece, we're going to put it in the background probably for about a year. Our roadmap is leaning towards us eventually maybe building an app that can further service classroom talent, but that's on hold. And so the next round we release within another month or so, that premium and free screen will just go away and everything will default to free. And we just won't provide a way for multiple data sources or document sources to be uploaded by teachers. We'll still service the ones that paid for it, but it's just kind of a, we're going to readjust. So
teachers do not have to pay anything. They can check the free option. You can tell them to check the free option. That's what we're doing. We're just telling them to check the free option. Sorry, Rob.
Nope, it's all good. We prefer they check the free option. I mean, if they check premium, what we do is we tell them we'll support for $15 one-time fee. They can upload documents that support like up to 5 districts and then anything else. But we're really steering them away until we can kind of circle back.
Excellent.
And
There's another question.
And may I say this?
Please.
That would have been gone now, except when we met all of you in Illinois and saw what needed to be done to meet the July 1 date. We shifted development resources so that we could get this all up and running properly. And now we're circling back to remove that. So that would have been gone, except we ran into face law. So
did we.
Yeah.
Next question, is there a reminder feature in the software?
There is. So there's a lot. So the software itself sends out reminders. I believe if something ages up to, it's like 2 weeks, and then it elevates in frequency. There are also, from a requesting district side, if it starts to age in a bad way, then you can also send, there's like a bell that you can click to send a reminder, but we throttle those. So you can't just sit there and click the bell anytime you want. It allows you to redo it like up to every 3 days after a while. If, and this is not a promise, but if we get a call from a teacher that's very frustrated or they just can't get their former district to respond, we will occasionally reach out proactively. It is not something we offer standard, but it's not unusual. We got that heart to serve I mentioned. It is not unusual for me to learn of one of our reps saying, just relax, let me make a phone call for you, and they will do that. Not standard, but that's the above and beyond we try to offer.
Excellent. Anyone else want to put questions in the chat? Rob, that's all that we have right now. All right. I think that is the end of our planned conversation. Rob, anything else you'd like to add?
I think I just want to say thank you earnestly and let you all know that we do appreciate and value the time investment. David, is there anything process-wise or just commentary-wise that we've left off that you'd like to highlight?
Not that I can think of. So
Okay.
as long as you cover can't drive this home enough that you remember when you sign up for the two accounts, you have to have two separate usernames. That's the main thing. Oh, and if when you go back to sign in, do not use your autofill and your password because it'll inevitably fill in the wrong password.
Yes, that's a great point. That's what we've learned is people in your cache, when you get your first login, and then you go to do your second login for your other role, it's your cache is messing you up. So you got to make sure it doesn't default to the wrong account. We have got some things in the pipeline to help alleviate this, but it's just not there at this moment. So some relief is coming, just not short term.
It's a really good tip.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I don't know if we let David introduce himself. David, very quickly, you want to just share? I mean, probably most of these folks have at least heard of you. I'm going to do a quick who you are and what's your
Sure.
role there?
I'm David Campbell. Work out of my home in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Been with Verifent for about 2 years. Absolutely love working with this company. Rob's just great to work with. If you have met Rebecca Campbell, she is my wife. We work together. So she's the one that primarily reaches out to you first, and then I kind of take it from there. So anyway, we just have loved working in Illinois and meeting all you fine folks. So thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, David.
So we have the Campbell team. I told them when Rebecca asked if she could be considered for the role, I'm like, this is kind of like the real estate world. I don't know, but it's been a good fit. So we're excited to have them on board.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, Rob, Kim, David, Rebecca, on behalf of IASPA, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for today's presentation. Thank you all for coming. We know this is a really busy time of year, but just to have this in detailed information on how this is going to live and breathe every day is super, super helpful. So thank you for taking time out to be here. And I'll remind all of you on the screen, if you have any golden nuggets to share, please reach out to me or Lindsay or Jeff Knapp, Scott Bramley, Vicki Larson, anyone on the committee. We'd love to have your beautiful faces on this screen as well, sharing all of your knowledge with your peers in the state of Illinois. Outside of that, I'm just wishing you all a wonderful, hopefully low-key summer, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.